Substantia, welcome to the podcast.
Woo, woo, woo! So good to see you, Bevin.
Oh my goodness, it is so refreshing actually to see you, and you just look gorgeous today. Like flaming red hair, lit by sun, plants behind you, big hand, a fat man picture. So let's start at the top. Simply with, I like to do business in the front, so I want to talk about adipositivity.
Everything sounds dirty to me. I'm sorry.
Good. As a naked people photographer, I'm glad that's your life. I think you also-
It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with just, queerantine horny.
Queerantine horny. Oh, so
it's gonna pop up a lot, I'm sure.
It's real. I mean, I was just thinking about this as I was putting my makeup on today, that I'm in the longest dry spell of my life. I mean, I had a lot of plans for 2020, lesbian Jack Kerouac on the road, like setting up, reigniting some things, setting up some new things, just, not happening, and that's okay. Public health is important. So
there will be many positive things that will come from this.
The roaring 20s, I have to say. Listen, I'm not even that orgy identified, but there will be, you know what I mean? I feel like we're going to go back to some sort of Grecian level hedonism, parties galore. I can't wait for the confetti cannons.
I'm going to be full out Caligula up in here come post-pandemic. Okay. I'm not into the group thing, but I am definitely ushering in a new era of casual sex.
Right.
Or more.
For me, I think my person's coming, so I think my casual sex. I never liked casual sex. I have to say, I tried so hard to like casual sex as a young person because I felt like everyone else was doing it and they were enjoying it and being satisfied by it. But for me, every time I felt kind of empty and annoyed, and there's even a couple of times, my friend reminded me of this story this week. There was a time I started having sex with someone and they put one finger in, and I was like, is that just one finger? And I was like, what are you doing? And they were like, oh, it was just one finger. And I was like, you know what? Let's just not. Mostly because I was drunk. And also, I'm honest. And also, I was like, if you're starting with one, I don't think you can handle me. You know what I mean? That was my thought process. And so I just ended it. I'm very good at knowing when I don't like something and expressing that. So anyway,
I'm just, I'm afraid to try to understand that question. I'm thinking it's maybe you weren't naturally lubricated enough by this person, and it's not I have learned since, and I hate to say coming out as queer, but
it is coming out.
But that makes it sound like I was in the closet, and I never was. All my life, anybody who'd ask, I would say I'm mostly hetero, which was true. I love that little noise. But wait, I was about to, before we move on from the casual sex thing, I have to share with you a very valuable lesson that a young person taught me. I was having dinner in New Zealand with this much younger person, and she was poly, and I noted to her that I could never do that because I'm not into casual sex, because I'm so afraid of accidentally falling in love with whomever's giving me orgasms, because that's what I do, and I don't want to fall in love with somebody that I don't like or isn't really suitable for me. And she said, well, let's break it down, which is what I always do to other people, but it was turned around on me. She said, carry it through to its conclusion. What's so bad about falling in love with somebody who's not then going to be your partner? Let's say it even ends, you have ended something with somebody that you're in love with, and it's going to sting a little, but is that really worth not pursuing something that you are drawn to? She said, I fall in love, in and out of love with people all the time, and it's not that bad. You get a lot of positivity from that. And I thought, damn, youngster, you have taught me something. I don't know that I can put it into practice. And at that time, I was still mostly hetero, so I did not put it into practice. But now that I am exclusively dating women, it's so, casual sex is so much easier. It's so much better. Um, so I'm going in with that mindset. Yes, you're going to catch feelings for somebody who is not really compatible in a relationship way with you. But what's the problem?
Maybe the feelings are like the elixir of life. I love being in love.
Me too. Oh my God, I love, and I always hear from people when I say this, people for whom, people, they believe that relationships are not for them. But I love romantic love. It really, someone misquoted me once as saying romantic love makes the world go round. They cut out an important piece of that, but I don't really believe. I don't recall, but it was vital. It was pivotal. But now I've heard the wrong way more than the right way. That it kind of makes sense for me. For me, I love love. I love being in a relationship. I like to think I'm good at it. And also because I'm 100 years old, I've learned a lot of lessons about what I want, what I don't want, and how to do it right. There's one time when I was married to a man, we had a period where we were down to one vehicle. One vehicle was in the shop or something. So a few days there, I would take him to work every morning, ungodly early. Nobody's happy at this hour. And he was always grumpy at that, early hour. And we would pass this every day, the same beautiful field. The sun was coming up and it was just gorgeous. And I would say, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It's going to be a beautiful day. And he would like, yeah. One morning, I was in a particularly bad mood. And when we passed that field, he said, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And I thought, this is how it's done.
Yes.
You fill in the blanks. We all have nubs and voids. And you want to come together. You want your nubs to fit into other people's voids. See, I'm sorry, everything's dirty to me. But I mean, that was straight up dirty. But that's what we want. That's what we should look for. And I say this as a fully single person right now during COVID, going through it alone and not having, sex in many months. And it's, wow, it's unpleasant, but I also feel so hopeful. I'm always very, very hopeful. And I've been lucky all my life in that regard. So I guess I never, I don't fear rejection. I don't fear much.
That's fantastic. I loved that story about how you filled in the gaps, because I really think I've been reading a lot of marriage books as like a way of kind of learning my way through my breakup and growing, because I don't like to repeat patterns. I like to solve things, and grow. And really looking at like how an ideal partnership, I think in any situation, whether it be romantic or not, but an ideal partnership, like you fill in the gaps for each other, and like you can't both be bummed on the same day, because then you spiral together. But if you can like rise up and notice your partner's like bummed and rise up and out of your circumstances and like be the light and bring the hope, that's ideal, right? Like, anyway, so.
And know that every day is going to be different. You can't, you can't rely on, you can't plan to be an 80%, an 80-10 relationship every day. The next day it's going to be flipped. It's always going to be different. And yes, some days you are both going to be bummed on the same day. And, you just got to sit that one out, I guess.
Yeah, you're going to figure out how to make it work. And also not let their bummed make you bummed, because
Yes.
That's the real, that, I mean, the real hack of life is to become a thermostat, not a thermometer, and just like handle your internal business and not let it
I
get,
should be writing all this down.
well, it's a podcast, so you
I
could.
kn- oh, beautiful. How convenient.
Isn't it? We had, I mean, just so the listeners know, we had a great conversation beforehand, as usual, great pre-podcast, and I'm like, we should be recording this.
I come in right out of the gate, coming in hot always.
I love coming in hot. I'm glad we came in hot talking about sex and relationships and honestly coming out. Like, what was, you said something interesting to me the first time we talked after you started sleeping exclusively with women, and you said like there was a thing about casual sex with men where the fear never really went away. And I have thought about that so much, about how truly, like, as women, many of us are survivors. And many of us have had like dangerous experiences with men or no reason to trust men.
I
And then,
won't say the fear never goes away. I think by the time you've chosen a partner, a male partner, and you're in it, you're no longer afraid with that person. But there's a lot of, when you're dating and searching, you never really let go of a fear because you feel like I'm not going to really know you for a long, long time, and maybe never. And there's always a chance. And I think it's a very universal thing for hetero women to, let their friends know where they're going to be. And the first time you're alone with a man, this is the address. And here's everything I know about him. Here's his, middle name and his mom's maiden name. And, because there's always a slight little thing in the back of your head that's like but with women, and I've been told I should not relax in this way, but with women I just don't feel that. I haven't, even though I love very, I mean, I'm specifically attracted to very masculine butch women. I just don't feel that. I don't feel that, even though I do sort of eschew the artifice, the macho artifice. I'm not looking for that, and I generally don't like that when I see it. I like a sort of a naturally masculine butch woman who is who being themselves and not putting on, I mean, I like a dapper thing every now and then, but otherwise not putting it on. And I've not once felt fearful or physically intimidated or anything like that. I hope that lasts. I hope I don't ever learn that lesson I'm told is coming.
oh my God. Well, I'm going to speak positivity over it and say, because you came out so late in life and you've liberated so many people, that you're not going to have to learn that lesson. I'm just going to know that. But we all know, and I just want to acknowledge, like, for anyone listening, like, sexual assault comes from all genders. It's just primarily from like men and males, because it's rape culture and they're taught that they can just have whatever.
It is. And anybody who is intimidated by us saying that, it doesn't have to be a natural innate thing in you. It's because we live in a patriarchy which excuses this behavior, which promotes this behavior. I mean, anybody can see that. I don't care how Republican you are, you could see that that's where we live, and that's what's guiding these sort of interactions. So yeah, it's not you, it's you. It's not you, it's all of y'all.
Oh my God. And also what's interesting, I'm reading this really interesting book. I'm looking to see if I can grab it, but it's called Safe People. And it's really interesting to see how much we can grow, because like I read it and I read all these ways that like I kind of used to be very unsafe, but it was mostly because I felt unsafe and I didn't know how to like be in the world, and I had to grow and learn how to trust and learn how to just have a different way of interacting with people. And like most of people who are like unsafe people are just really traumatized people who are unhealed. So I don't know.
No, that's fascinating. Or who feel the need to test you And because they don't maybe feel worthy of being loved, so they are constantly testing your love.
Oh, or that, yeah. Or some people just feel at home in chaos, and so they want to create chaos. And like,
Oh my goodness.
is like, life is gonna life at you no matter what. Like, people are gonna die, tragedy will beset you, life will create your chaos that you're meant to have. So I'm gonna take no extra chaos and sleep more.
Oh, that's the way I like it. Not a fan of the chaos.
No,
Definitely not added chaos.
no, you don't need it. And a lot of people stir shit up. I've been noticing, like, it's not like my pandemic is boring. I keep myself very like busy and doing things, but like, I was noticing, I was like, I think if I were a different version of myself, I'd be causing a lot of interpersonal drama right now just to have something to talk about. So instead I talk about like big things. Humanity, changing the world.
It's a time to fuel ourselves, to decompress and to learn and to grow and to change if change is needed.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we're going to be better when we come out of this. And I hope that we keep some trends like Zoom. I've had some Zoom dates, and I think it's great idea. Why weren't we doing this before? Like first couple of dates, I think is great to do by Zoom. It saves you from having to put on pants and be in a tense situation. It makes it a lot less tense.
Yeah, and
I think it's a great idea.
One time there was this person I met online once when I was still living in New York, and we were like, going back and forth. And I was very busy then, living in New York, doing a lot of careers. And I was like, you know what? If you can meet me somewhere where I only have to take one bus.
I know.
I was like, we can meet right now at a bar. And so we did. And it was a good first date, but I think it would have been better on Zoom. And by the second date, when she said this to me, I don't believe in astrology. That was my moment. That was my one finger moment. I was like, this is over. We can't do this anymore.
It's the opposite with me when they ask me, about stars and the universe and stuff. I'm like, if you're joking, we can deal with this, but you have to appreciate that I'm not an appreciator. And I have a dear friend who's so into that, you just can't imagine.
Yeah.
And we're able to joke about our differences, but yeah, when I was dating more often, pre-pandemic, I knew every coffee place within walking distance of my house, but that would not indicate to them where exactly I lived when I walked out. Because it's hard. People don't understand, to live in New York City, you have to really want to live in New York City.
Yes, you do.
It's not a casual thing because there are a lot of challenges, and it's not so easy in many regards. It's, very, very difficult. But so yeah, you have to appreciate. I get that one bus thing. Yeah, I'm with you there.
It's so specifically New York. Substantia, you've lived in New York for like 30 years?
More than 20, like 24 years.
Are you the kind of New Yorker who has lived in the same apartment for a very long time?
My first 2.5 years, I lived with my then fiance in the Village. And then I moved from there into this apartment in 99. Yes. We get very attached to, I'm lucky I have a good situation here, but it's a hardship to move. Your neighborhood becomes your world, and we get attached to, like, I think somebody needs to write about our views out our windows and how proprietary we are and how we fall in love. We have affection for our view that someone else would walk in and say, it's too bad about the view. But to us, it's like you've insulted my child. That's my view. You don't understand, that water tower says hello to me every morning. This is, but yeah, New York stuff.
Your stuff. And you're in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go too specific about where you live, but I feel like there's like borough specific sort of lifestyles that are endearing and beautiful. I saw a good quote about New Yorkers yesterday where it's like, you know, you're a New Yorker when you look at a view and you can see how it used to be.
Oh, yes.
Right? And I'm like,
everything is morphing constantly. And when I first moved here, we still had some grit left, and I love gritty. I love gritty. And I lived in the village where there was still some old, 90, 100-year-old businesses and lots of gritty places that you don't know how they survive. And that's all, we've gotten so homogenized now, that in order for a small old business to survive, they own the building. Otherwise, they would not still be there. I mean, we've been, I will out one aspect of where I live. I live near the new section of the Second Avenue subway. And that changed this whole area so much that it killed a lot of the mom and pop businesses that lived along the construction areas because they just couldn't stay alive. People couldn't even see them or get to them often. And it killed them, and it brought in a new crop of gentrifiers. And many of those people, many of the gentrifiers have already been priced out of the area because of the subway. The new subway is so desirable. All rents went up in this area, and it brought in a lot more uppity businesses and things that don't necessarily speak to me. And it's unfortunate, so no more grit. Definitely no more grit. We used to have car places. This is how you've been gentrified, is there are no more car repair shops or locksmiths or gas stations or lube shops. They've all, when I first moved there, we had billiards and lube shops. Now that's no more.
That's so real. Watching change in New York is actually sort of heartbreaking, but like also so is life. Like everything changes all the time, and like
it does. And this is hopefully another way that we will improve from the pandemic, because I'm hearing about a lot of people moving to where they've always wanted to live in New York because the rents are so low right now and they're getting good deals even long term. So it's bringing people who should be here to the area. I worked for a lot of years in nonprofit, and I worked with a lot of young people who moved from elsewhere here as a young person straight out of college, and almost every one of them was being at least partially subsidized by their wealthy parents back home. And I thought, this isn't good for the city. I mean, I like you, but this isn't really good for the city, because do we really want to be a community of people from wealth? No. Do we really want to be a community of stores that you'd see at the mall? Do we want to live a chain business existence? I don't. I miss the gritty old New York. But what are you gonna do?
The gritty old New York will live forever in our little brains, and I think New York will keep morphing. I think this is actually great. I love hearing that people who are finding their dream places to live. I know a lot of people who have left New York for their dream places, right, which are somewhere else. And so it's like, I think in many ways it's like an interesting shakeout of what's going on. My hope is that we will get a new deal in some way. Not like I'm never counting on the government to solve anything, but like some situation where like we have a renaissance and a resurgence of funding for things that only improve everybody, right? Like there's still so much great architecture from the old New Deal and great art from the old New Deal. So like, anyway, I'm hopeful that there can be a resurgence of small businesses, because
another WPA maybe.
I
think that would be great to give, to put artists to work making art.
Yes.
People who've really been suffering through this, who've lost their income, performers especially, I mean, they need help.
Yeah. And speaking of art, you are like one of my favorite artists.
Oh,
We haven't even talked about your art yet. So okay, how long has the Adipositivity project been going on now?
since '07. So I guess in June it'll be 14 years.
14 years old. She's a teenager. Uh,
It's the longest I've ever done anything.
that's
No
great.
relationships, no jobs, no. Yeah, I don't have a lot of stick-to-itiveness, but I've almost quit more than once.
What kept you coming back to it? I think these are good things to help inspire others.
Two things. One is I get so much response from people who tell me very earnest stories about what the project has meant for them. And they tell me things, they've educated me in how bad it can get. Because they've lived things that I never have. I don't think I've been as negatively affected by my fat body as a lot of people have. So I've learned from the people who write to me how bad it can be. I mean, this one poor woman that I quote all the time. Oh, I taste like Alka-Seltzer. Sorry. I hope that's not visible. She wrote to me once and said, I've just looked at all your images and I'm writing to thank you. Today is the first day in memory that I've not cried about my body. And I thought, wow, I'm a child of diet culture and I did the roller coaster for many years, but I never cried about my body. So I'm doing it for those people who write to me. The other reason that I came back to it when I was about to quit about 5 years in, I was about to quit because it just got to be too much. It was more than I could handle. Too many people wanted to be photographed and it was like, it's just so much. And an adiposer said to me, I told her, you might be my last one. And she said, just make it manageable for you. Change it to be manageable for you rather than quitting. And if it's still not manageable, then change it more, or then you can quit. But first, tinker and see if you can make it something you want to stay with. And today, that's advice I give to so many people, and because it was excellent advice. And it's the reason I'm still here, 14 years later.
Yeah, totally. That's fantastic advice, actually. It's something I implement all the time with myself. Like someone has a very similar, there's very few people who do what I do, but someone has a similar sort of gig that they do. And she was talking about a team meeting she had, and I saw her team and I was like, oh, you've got 5 people doing this with you. I have just me.
Yeah.
And it's really, and then whenever I remember, like, oh, it's just me, and I could do a lot of things if I had a team, and I don't have a team. So what are we going to do that I can do and follow through on? Because I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Make it workable. If it doesn't work, it first try, or as we say in the South, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Make it, see what's salvageable. The baby is salvageable.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And the baby is like kind of the inherent thing. Like the Adipositivity body of work is so phenomenal. I have to say, like, I didn't see a naked fat body until I was 21 years old. My whole life growing up, I mean, that's being a child of diet culture, right? Like your body is never shown to you in a positive light, and certainly not sexualized, which I experienced, honestly, I think is a form of sexual trauma, like to never understand and appreciate my body in a sexual way, or to feel like my body was desirable. And not
That's so smart. That's so smart. Yes, you're right. That is so smart.
Yeah, and so I had to work through that trauma. And like naked fat people are not inherently sexual. Nudity is just bodies, right? Like our bodies are literally naturally just that way, right? This is shame and prude culture, honestly, teaching us not to see naked bodies. But like I think the art of fat bodies is so beautiful, and fat bodies are so diverse. Like it's so fun that like you can be the same size as someone and then have a completely different looking naked body. And how cool that is, and how cool it is to see yourself represented, like your hanging belly and your floppy boobs and like whatever you got, your rolls. And
yes,
you know? It's so,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. And I think that you're such a good artist to do what you do because you sincerely love your subjects. Um,
Too. I am one.
yeah, you are one. And what my favorite thing you said the first time I posed for you, I think it was in 2008. Um, it might have even been late 2007, but I think it was 2008. But like I remember I was still living in Jersey City. And I came into the city and you had told me like things that you liked to take pictures of. And I like met you in this Lower East Side apartment. And I was like still like in the process of, I was loving myself, but I was still in the process of uncovering love for my body. And it just like, it was so nice to get photographed and just be art for somebody and like be appreciated. And you photographed how many people, how many adiposers do you think you've had so far?
There are over 800 images, but a lot of people are repeat adiposers. So I don't really know, but hundreds of adiposers.
That's amazing. Have you been doing any photography in the pandemic or you're just?
I haven't, none, zero, zilch. And it's a complicated and unfortunate answer, but I haven't. I wrestle with it every day about whether the risk is worth it, especially now that the end is in sight. There have been times where I feel foolish for not doing this particular shoot that is within walking distance and we can all stay apart, but I still can't help thinking, if I get it, it'll kill me. I'll be really embarrassed when I'm dead, that I took this risk. So every day I do wrestle with it. I don't really know how much risk is acceptable for me, and I err on the chicken shit side.
I'm glad.
So I've not done, in fact, next month it'll be a year since I've done a shoot. And when it came time to put together the calendar, I thought, oh, what do I do? I can't do this. I'm not going to do it. We're just not going to have a calendar this year. I'm not the only one who's not doing something, because of COVID. And my dear friend, fat activist Kat Pause, she said, we have a regular, I call it our cat call. We have a cat call once a month on Zoom. And she said, oh, no, you can't. She's very, much a cheerleader. She doesn't really chastise me about much, but she said, you can't do that. No, you've got to make a calendar. Let's figure this out. You can't not make a calendar this year. And I said, yeah, but she said, no. Here, you can do it this way or this way or this way or this way. So I did. I went back through a bunch of old shoots and pulled up some also rans, which intellectually I knew I had, because there are times where I'll get home from a shoot and I have an embarrassment of riches in what I've gotten, and I only use, one or two of the images. So I knew if I went back through images, I would find. So you would think that would produce an inferior calendar, but I was actually quite pleased with it. Now I'm doing the same thing with the Valentine series.
I'm so excited for the Valentine series. This is
I should have asked you when this drops, because the
Valentine's Day.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then you should be able to go to the Adipositivity Project and see this year's Valentine series, which hopefully it's not yet put to bed, because there's so much involved in pulling up old, photos. You have to get in touch with, if it's, it's very complicated, and it relies on people getting back to you who are not ever going to get back to you. But, I thought, oh, this is going to suck. I'm going to do it, but it'll suck. And it's not sucking. So that makes me happy. And, I look forward to the response, because the response is always the thing for me. It, it makes a lot of people happy to see fat love, to see fat people with their partners of all sizes, all genders. So I'm glad we're here. I'll be gladder when it's completely ready, but you know.
I have to say I was super excited. I reached out to you nowish because of the Adipositivity Valentine series, which like I'm crying a little bit.
Glad it's happening.
Every year I'm glad it's happening too. It didn't never occur to me that it wouldn't happen. So that's why when you started, you surround yourself with bossy friends who are like, no, you're gonna do the calendar.
You have more faith in me than I have in myself, but fortunately it has happened.
I mean, that's why you have a wealth of friends, right? Because like you have to sometimes borrow other people's faith in you, borrow other people's perspective. You're always too close to your own trees to see the forest. But like,
another book. I should be writing this down.
Listen, you can listen to the podcast, write it all down.
Oh, I like it.
But it's true. Like I have been present in your circle through many times when people have, not many times, but a handful of times where people have stepped in and been like, no, bitch, get a Patreon, right? Like, no, bitch, get a new camera, fundraise for it. We love you. We want this to happen, right? Like, and so like, I love that your friend Kat is like, no, bitch, you're going to do a calendar. And like, I don't know who told you, no, bitch, you're going to do the Valentine series, but I knew you had an embarrassment of riches. Like, this is the best part about being an artist over a long period of time and having a content bank is like, I'm going back and doing content from like years ago that I never posted because like I was just so busy that like moving from place to place, never integrating, never resting. Like there's so much that like we have to harvest that I think this time is enabling us to do. And
I think the reason I did go ahead with the Valentine series is because Kat Pause no bitched me about the calendar. So I knew I was better aware that it was possible to pull it out. And I did. I do feel like I've pulled this out of my ass. But going back and seeing all these images and thinking, why didn't I use this before? Why didn't I get back to this shoot and pull more images? Because some of them are just great. And it's putting together the Valentine series always makes me smile because I'm looking at lovers. I'm looking at love, the embodiment of romantic love, sexual love. And it, you know, this is something I adore. So it always makes me happy to look at their faces and look at their contact and remember how much fun they had, how much fun we had shooting it. And so
I have to say, like, as someone who, like, there was a lot of, so my last relationship was like 6 years, and I hit a lot of milestones in that relationship that I'm still very proud of and excited about, including being one of the couples in the Adipositivity Valentine series. Like, you took my very favorite family portrait we ever took, where I'm naked. My ex is in a three-piece suit, looking real hot.
So dapper, so dapper.
Right, so dapper. And like, it wouldn't have been with her that long if she hadn't like hit my button. So anyway, and then my dog with me, and it was just adorable. The dog is like hiding my nakedness, and it's just a hot, adorable, like very us picture with like our favorite lamps, and it's such a beautiful like encapsulation of my life at that time, right, in 2016 or whenever that was. And
that was the day that I discovered you had glitter on your step ladder, and I thought, this is so fucking Bevin to have glitter on your step ladder. So I had to take a picture of that too.
I mean, thank you for noticing that. Also, I want to say this for any of your friends who are listening. If you have Substantia at your house, just let her go ham on like your displays and your tchotchkes, because you designed my tchotchke display in a way that was totally aesthetically appealing and then lived out the rest of the days in that house, like exactly as you set it up. And like, I don't have an eye for design the way you do. And like, I appreciated that moment.
I do. I tell people, I said, I'm going to fucking trash your house and leave it that way. You just have to accept, and it's not even an intentional thing. It's like after the shoot, it never even occurs to me to help you move the furniture back. You know, I'm like so focused on what I'm doing. Then later I think, well, that was really rude. So now I just tell people up front, I'm just gonna leave after we're done and let you deal with it.
In a perfect world.
Or in the case of Valentine's series, I know people fuck first and then deal with it. I know people are having sex after I leave because I can feel it. I can feel it building while I'm there, you know, very often. So yeah, fuck, then clean up.
I wish I
Which
could
should
say,
always be the rule.
it should always be the rule. I wish I could say that happened to me after my couple shoot. I'm pretty sure we did not.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. It's over now.
Because the pooch was hiding your parts.
Yeah. I think you know, next time I have a partner and you shoot us, I'll make sure to fuck after.
Okay.
But I want to plug this too. Like, I think it's medicine for people to see their bodies being loved and appreciated and desired. And this project, like the Adipositivity project as a whole, is just such a like incredible body of work. I love I post it all the time on the Fat Kid Dance Party Instagram stories, just because I'm like, I want you to see your body. I want you to see what your body can look like when it's loved and when it's free and when it's adored, right? And like working with you as a photographer, I feel like you're almost like a sculptor in many ways. Like every photographer is different, but you're really different in this great way where like you know what you want and like you just kind of keep tweaking until you get the shot. And I love that.
Well, I've lived in a fat body for so long. I know what I want, and I know, you know, I want to show you what I see that you may not have ever seen.
Yeah.
And so I like to show that to people who are sometimes surprised.
Which I think is like part of the process of unfolding your desirability and honestly a part of the process of hatching all those eggs of the things that taught you that you weren't desirable or awesome or worthy of love in the first place.
Yes.
So when you started Adipositivity and you were a radio host and you've done so many things, like what are you hoping that your legacy is? Like, what do you hope that people remember about you in the world?
Oh, that's a good one. I've been thinking about my mortality over the last year.
Yeah.
And not a fun thing for me to ponder. I never get to the part where what will I be remembered for? I'm mostly preoccupied with protecting what I've done from people who might not appreciate it or might not use it in a way that I would want them to. So naturally, I hope that people who've been helped by the Adipositivity Project remember me for that. And then, you know, friends will have a lot of wacky stories that I wouldn't want told unless and until I'm dead.
Oh,
I do hope that people think of me when they think of how much better they feel about their fat body than they did 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Do you think that you want to have a book?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. The short answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
The longer answer is, oh, hell yes. Okay. And to be honest, if I knew nuts and bolts wise how to put together a photo book proposal, I might be farther along, but you know, anybody will help you put together a book proposal, but a photo book proposal is a bit different, is quite a bit different. And you can't really go to regular publishers for this. So I desperately want a book. Somebody last night told me I should have a magazine. I want a book. I want to do it once and then, you know, not have to do it again. But I definitely want a book. And I have had publishers pie in the sky me. And one long ago said, and they would be a wonderful, appropriate publisher for this. And they said, if you add text to this, we will publish it. And I said, yeah, I don't want to do that. Now, since I've realized, oh yeah, I need some text. There's some things I want to say with words rather than images. So yes, I need some text, but also now I think maybe I can do better than that publisher. I have a dream publisher. And so, you know, once I figure out how to put together, I have to figure out how to put together a photo book proposal. Then I have to, this is the bigger one, I have to fucking do it.
Mhm.
And that's, that's a whole nother thing. But soon.
I mean, I'll say this is my wish for you. I want the publisher to come and find you and make it easy for you so that you just get to be the genius and show up.
This used to be my method. I would never seek out anything, and I am a pretty ambitionless person anyway. But my method for everything, for romance, for career, for everything is just, I'm just going to sit on the couch and wait till it falls into my lap. And unfortunately, a lot of things did fall into my lap. So it reinforced that MO.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen so much anymore, and I've never even heard of it happening with publishing. Or actually, it does happen with publishing quite a bit, but it hasn't happened yet. Not with a publisher that I would want to work with. I figure, why not start at the top and work your way down?
Yeah. I'll say this. If every single person who's listening to this podcast right now goes and follows you on the Twitter, on the Instagrams, on the Facebooks, on all the things, then that only shows a viability of an audience to potential publishers. So if this is a book you want, following is the least of your
You're absolutely right. Now, I don't even know what you see if you go to my Twitter account now, because I've been banned since December 1st.
It's still on your email signature. You should take it off.
I know. Well, I'm on my second appeal with them, so I'm hoping it's temporary, but it's been like 2 months now, so it might be permanent. We'll see. And I'm still shadow banned on Instagram, but I'm on my second appeal with them too, so we'll see.
I'll say this, you still come up at the top of my feed on Instagram because I share and like your shit so much. So
thank you, Bevin. Yeah, that's how you do it. Share and like, and that's how you keep me there, for one thing.
Yeah. I just find this also fascinating too. Like, my cat has an account, and so my cat shares and likes things, right? And I always like my own posts. And I noticed I didn't do it on one post, and then my shit did not show up at the top of the feed the next time I logged into my cat account. And I was like, that's wild. One time I didn't like something, and it's just because I didn't bother, right? So
it's so complicated. You know what just occurred to me, Bevin, is when I first went to Instagram, I was a late adopter because of some of their policies. And you told me, find a bunch of hashtags that you like, or create a bunch of hashtags that you like, up to 30, use them every time. Well, I just found out that at least when you're shadow banned, that's one of the things that happens, is your stuff does not come up when people are following that hashtag or look up that hashtag, and often it happens if you use the same hashtag over and over again. So it's a mess. They all hate me. They hate me. Like, one time when I first went to Instagram, like, I'd been there for a few months, and I guess when you go from 0 to a whole bunch in a short time, they look and see what's going on. And they contacted me and they said, we would like to pay you for an interview wherein you tell us how we can improve Instagram, because we recognize you as a community leader. I thought, oh, this is going to be a lovely, harmonious relationship. Not so much. I mean, that happened. They did pay me for the interview and it was great. But they constantly delete my stuff. The last thing that was deleted, they said it was because I was, they deleted it for sexual solicitation. And the bits were covered up, the bits they don't like, the bits that scare the patriarchy, that was all covered up. Nothing about it was, and Twitter blocked me for hate speech. I said, this is what I spend my life working against. Nobody pays me to do this. I'm devoted to working against hate speech. Do you see how stupid this is, what you've done? But, this often happens at calendar season, when the haters know I need social media right now. They go crazy reporting me. And both both of those happened in the same day. Twitter and Instagram happened in the same day. So I know they get, and I don't know if you've heard, but now Facebook, in their effort to cut down on bullying, they're giving you warnings for using the word fat. I got my first one the other day and I said, what is this fresh hell? And I posted about it, and other people are saying, yes, they're now giving warnings or even deleting. And in this warning, they say, this is similar to, things that we don't allow because of bullying. Do you want to, keep it, ignore this, or delete it? And I said, fuck no, I'm going to keep on saying the word fat. And people are saying, maybe you should just adjust it and use the asterisk. No, we fought to queerize this word.
Yeah.
And it is a morally neutral descriptor. I'm not using it because Zuckerberg is afraid of it, and if you think it's sometimes used as a pejorative, it's because it is. And if you just do your fucking job and sort it out, then we wouldn't have this problem. But they better damn well not make me stop using the word fat.
This
is my last platform.
I know. I feel like here's what. Do you have an email list?
Oh, Bevin, I have one that I finally started a few months ago, but I did not choose wisely the platform, and because I was trying to find someone who's going to be the least problematic with nudity.
Yeah.
And I chose a very common one because it was recommended to me, and it turns out they're just not really that compatible with Gmail addresses, so which is most people, so people aren't really getting your email. So I don't know what to do about it. I might start over again somewhere else.
I don't know if you use MailChimp. Was it MailChimp?
Yeah.
Well, MailChimp seems to work for me. I get a 20% open rate, which is pretty good for an email list.
Is it? Maybe I'm just asking too much. Maybe I'm just ignorant about, what I should expect.
I think this is what the theory that's working for me right now in algorithm land, which, I'm kind of just living just over broke. So we'll say what is success, right? But what's working for me is focusing on my true fans. My true fans are the people who like all my Instagram posts, who watch my Instagram stories, who open my emails, who show up to my aerobics classes, right? Like they're people who listen to the podcast, who are like showing up and learning what I have to do and like care about me and care about what I say, right? So I think it's really like for you, your project has a global scope and is globally like helpful for people, right? And you can focus on your true fans and just keep them tied in, because there's a lot of people who will always be casual about it and be the social media scrollers. But like, since the social media platforms aren't being a place where we can really have community, as a fat person or a sex positive person, like it is almost impossible to have community and sustain it through only social media, because I think they're so negative about those things, and because it challenges the patriarchy, and those platforms are all owned by men and run by men,
Yeah.
And so I think like there are ways, like the email list is kind of the best way to own your connection to your audience, even though it is also through platforms. But like
I know I need to do that, and I know I need to pay much closer attention to all of that. It's just so not in me to do that.
Well, at least you did the Valentine's Project. How's that? I'm glad you're still
yes
working, right?
I know you're very good at that, and I've had very smart people tell me the same stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't, you don't know me, I'm just not ever going to be smart or industrious about any of that, even though I know it's true. Now, when I'm any publishers listening, I'll change my ways for you, honey. I'll be your little submissive.
Here's what I do. I hate marketing. I actually really do. I was just talking to my friend Colin from Queer Cosmos about how much we both just do not like marketing. I like to say something.
Just marketed right there.
Yeah, right? I'll say something once and I'll be fine about it, but marketing is really saying the same thing over and over like dozens of times so that people hear it, which is I find arduous and annoying. And so as I'm marketing, I like genuinely fantasize about the future assistant I'll have who will do all this for me. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm only offering these things because I want the Adipositivity Project to keep rooting in and connected to people. But I also like recognize you're only going to do what you're going to do. And like, and honestly, the best thing you can do as a creator is to just be so good they can't take their eyes off you. So people like seek you out and they go to adipositivity.com and they like buy the calendar, support you, get on the Patreon, even $2 a month, like helps sustain the things you want to win, right, in life. So I don't know.
Yeah, I say I hate that stuff, and I do, but I constantly now find myself doing things I would not have done years ago. Repetition is one thing,
Yeah.
because again, I'm a recovering Southerner. I'm conscious of, am I being a drag, but one thing I have found through COVID, when I've stopped shooting, and I didn't think I would have to slow down Adipositivity updates on the website, but I have, that people are still that Patreon patrons have not diminished at all. And I've got, new, very generous supporters. And February, every hump day in February, I have a really good giveaway for Patreon patrons. And so when people push me, or I do, like, some of this giveaway stuff was given to me. So they said, I know you like to do giveaways, so give all these vibrators away. Why don't you? And I said, I will.
Oh my God, that's great. That's a brilliant way to support you, is to send you stuff that you can give away on your thing. I've been doing little like low-key covert like video swaps with people. So I'll send them my aerobics video and they send me theirs, or like a code or whatever, so I can like keep adding more value to my membership. Because I just want to be a good place to help support people's self-care. So this is brilliant. I love that. This is something. See, listen out there, people who like Substantia, if you have things she can give away to Patreon.
And it's like, it's very, very little commitment from you, but really good gifts. And every Valentine's series, I do hear from people who say, I know what your aim is, but it makes me feel bad because I'm single, or it's not really in the cards for me. So I figure clitoral stimulators, that's for everybody. It's even better if you don't have a partner bugging you, or wanting to use it on you. But so I've got, 4 Satisfier Pro 2 clitoral stimulators to give away, and a couple of great new books about sexy times. And so, yeah, you don't have to be in a couple to appreciate Adipositivity's February offerings.
I think it's actually, for me, it was very vital when I was single. I was like, look at all these fat people who are in love and partnered and connected, at least enough to take naked pictures together.
Yes.
Which is a big deal.
It might be even more interesting this year when you look at all of them and wonder if they're still together.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna just say this. You have my consent.
Don't say I'm a relationship killer, please.
No, I don't think you are. I'll say you have my consent to use any of my pictures you haven't used yet, just simply because I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I was with her for as long as I was. I still own that, and I just like showing people what's possible, right? And I honestly don't think having a relationship for 6 years is a failure just because it ends. I think almost a success that we walked away from each other. And I'm doing so great. So
you learn things about what you want, what you don't want. You learn things about being in a relationship. No relationship is a failure.
No.
I'm not a person who thinks we're meant to be monogamous forever. So I've never felt, that, something's wrong with me by ending a relationship. It's things often just run their course, or have been overlooked, or you grow in a different direction than your partner does, but you're both growing. It's a good thing. You're going to do it separately now.
Yeah. And I think there's like a lot to, anyway, I just think that's not something I thought, right? Like I'll say at 42, I think differently about relationships not being a failure. But when I was like 35, I definitely thought a relationship ending that you said was going to be forever was a failure. So you can change your perspective, and it makes life easier.
You can. And that's not to negate or or minimize the pain and the anguish of the end of a relationship, no matter what. And I'm a person who believes that breaking up with someone is more heartbreaking than being broken up with. You can discuss, people argue with me, but I think it's a lot more painful because you have to also deal with the anguish of I've hurt someone, and also questioning yourself, did I do the right thing? And I'm famous for getting back together with somebody immediately because, you know, I always have fallen for that, you know, oh baby, please no. And not for any logical reason. It's always, and it really is just prolonging the inevitable. And but you know, I'm a dumbass. I mean, you know, I'm a full out dumbass, so I'll cop to that. And I'm trying not to fall for that stuff anymore.
That's hilarious. Okay, so Substantia, quick question. What is your astrology sign? I can't believe it.
Okay, is that a serious question?
I genuinely want to know, and I know many of my listeners want to know.
Okay, I'm a Pisces.
Pisces.
I was born March 1st, and I would think I was born at like 2:28 a.m. And coincidentally, this was a leap year, so I missed being a leap day baby by just a couple of hours. So I would be a quarter of my age now had I been born a couple of hours earlier.
God. And where were you born?
Hampton, Virginia.
Hampton, Virginia. I am definitely.
Yeah, wait, this is good. The name of the hospital, Dixie Hospital.
Wow.
That's how old I am, A. And when people say Virginia isn't the South, I say, excuse me, it is below the Mason-Dixon line. And I was born in Dixie Hospital.
What year were you born, just so I can do your chart?
60. I'm born in 1960. I'm 60 years old.
I have to say, I am still, like, you told me that you were about to turn 60 at the beginning of this, before I even started recording. And I was like, oh my God, I just always thought you were like 10 years older than me, which
I'm about to turn 61.
About to turn 61. About to turn.
And I feel, and you know what? It's so weird. I work so hard on being okay with the age thing. I might seem like it's effortless, but it's not effortless. It's hard because ageism is so prevalent, so accepted. Even people who love me, people I love, are so fucking ageist. And this is like the biggest thing that annoys me in our culture is that people believe for some reason they can pick and choose which bigotries they fight earnestly against and which bigotries they embrace and practice. And that's not the meaning of equality. Equality is equality. You can't say these groups are equal, these are not. So I am, you know, I'm a target of ageism every day of my life. I have to push back against it. Meanwhile, I'm dealing with the body of a 60-year-old where things start to turn brown and fall off. That's a product of aging. But let me tell you, the upside is significant because you indeed do stop giving a fuck what petty people think of you. You really do. You know, if you pass a group of people laughing, I've always been like, I err on the side of they're not laughing at me. But today, if you do, you think, I don't care if they're laughing at me. You know, you realize you've worked all your life on yourself and being a good person. So anybody who doesn't appreciate that, that's their issue. You really do embrace that as an older person. And what's weird is I turned 60 at the beginning of the pandemic, and I had big plans. That 60 is a milestone. I had a big shoulder piece I'd been waiting. I was going to get it on my 60th birthday. Didn't happen. I was going to visit New Orleans for the first time. Didn't happen. But now I'm celebrating another birthday during the pandemic. So none of that's going to happen. But for some reason, I'm thinking 61, that's a sexy age. I can't stop thinking that, 61, and it's all relative. I used to hang out in this bar where the bar owner was 8 years older than I am. And every year there'd be a little birthday some celebration in this bar for me. And every year he would say, "How old are you?" And I would tell him. And because he was 8 years older, he would always say, "Oh, that's the perfect age." Like, "Oh, 35, man, that's the perfect. Oh, 40, that's the perfect age." And he, another unwitting lesson that was taught to me. This guy had no idea what he was doing for me, telling me that everything is relative, including age. And the upside, yes, your breasts are completely different at age 60, but man, the upside is well worth the saggy breasts. Well worth it.
I have to say it might have been a favor to me that my body had saggy breasts to start. I never knew a life with a perky breast. And so maybe I don't know, everything changes and everything is relative. And I have to say, I think you're killing it because you are living an age defiant lifestyle, which I think not a lot of people embrace, but you do what you love, you do what's coming through you, you live true to yourself. And I think that preserves you. I see people who are living really aligned and they don't age, not visibly anyway, and of course I think dyeing your hair helps too. But
me, yeah. I mean, that's another step that's coming. I tell myself when it gets whiter, I want it to be white because I have plans. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go natural, but I'm going to dye big chunks of primary colors.
Oh, nice.
But in fact, the palette has to be white, and I'm not nearly there. It's I started going prematurely gray, and then it just stopped progressing. Wow. But wait, something you just said made me. I was about, people showing you how to age. There's a less than great movie on cable right now with Catherine Deneuve. Oh. And I was watching it and I determined early on, this is a nothing movie, but I cannot take my eyes off of that fucking woman because I don't know how old she was in the movie. It's a recent movie. And this is a woman whose career was built on her appearance. And she is a lot heavier than she was in her prime. She's, I don't think, had any work or not much. And you cannot take your eyes off of her. And I watched the whole movie just to watch her move and speak and smoke cigarettes, for God's sake. I mean, if anything ages you faster, it's that. Yeah. But it was such a lesson in how you can be, even if you have lived in a world of Western beauty ideals and been the darling of Western beauty ideals and built your universe on those ideals. You can still age gracefully, and that's what I'm trying to do, and it's tricky, but I hope I'm managing it. And wait till I get the white hair thing. Oh my God, it's gonna be great. And the tattoo, it's coming.
And the tattoo, what's the tattoo gonna be of?
It is gonna be huge open ivy vines. Ooh. It'll creep into here and down and on my back, but they're going to be little words in there that you can't see unless you're right up on me, because I feel like I give so much of myself publicly, and this will be a private little thing that's only for people that I love enough to have them nuzzle my neck and read these words. So, you'd never be able to know, and that's the way I like it. I need to focus more on things that are just for me and just for my in real life people.
That's good. Good boundaries, good self-care. Substantia, you're a legend. I love you. I'm so glad you're in this world. I'm so glad to just keep creating in a world where you're creating. And I just can't wait to see what continues to unfold for you. And like, also, I can't wait to see you in real life and hug you during the roaring 20s, during our Renaissance.
No, I know. Yeah, this has been big fat fun. Thank you for asking me, Bevin. I adore you. And wow, we are a couple of dot dot dot. I don't really have the word, but maybe I shouldn't set us up like that. But workhorses, I don't know. We've been through it.
Yeah.
And we're still fucking here.
Yeah. And we keep going.
And we keep going.
And serving who we're meant to serve, I think, is really the answer. And
doing our best.
It's so good. So yay. So all the ways to connect with Substantia I'll put in the notes below, wherever you found this episode, be it YouTube, be it on the audio podcast, but adipositivity.com, Adipositivity on Instagram or Facebook, somehow get on your email list, patreon.com/adipositivity, support the work that you want to see continue in the world. I love the stuffing out of you. Thanks for being in the world, Substantia.
Thank you, Bevin.
Yay.